continent, and therefore a moment that goes in history as one monumental one to be put in the history books of the country's second state funeral with this kind of military fanfare, this being the send-off of the country's second president, Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, the man who succeeded founding president Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, who equally got similar fanfare when his send-off ceremony happened in 1978, and therefore memories for Kenya as well as the continent and the world as the chopper makes its way out of Wilson Airport direct to Kabarak for the final send-off ceremony of the country's second president. And there you have it, moments away, perhaps seconds or a few minutes before the departure of the chopper from Wilson Airport straight to Kabarak for the send-off ceremony, expected to be attended by tens of thousands of anxious residents who get the opportunity to give their final or to show their final respect for the man who rose from humble beginnings to ascend to the country's top office. There you have it, moments, just a few minutes away from that departure that goes into the history books of Kenya as the chopper makes its way from Wilson Airport straight to Kabarak. A very sentimental moment even for the soldiers accompanying the former head of state, the man who was their boss for 24 years, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, and that would go to lengths to explain the significance of the military fanfare that has, throughout this journey, accompanied the former president's mourning, or the days of mourning, as well as the send-off ceremony happening today in Kabarak. And there you have it, a chopper that also writes a bit of the history of the country, goes into the history books as having ferried the remains of the country's longest-serving head of state.
All right, and what we see now on your screens is the chopper that is carrying the remains of the late President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. This, of course, being a full military affair. We see that is a military chopper. And as Murimi Mwangi was giving us the details and information, we've seen the Senator for Baringo County, Gideon Moi, Honorable Gideon Moi, was there on standby with his wife Zara, just to ensure that everything is running according to, order and what is expected. Akisa, this, of course, running again with precision, with time. We're expecting the body to be in Kabarak at 8 o'clock. This is now just about 20 minutes to, and we're told the flight should take about 30 minutes. Yeah. So this is running according to time. So yeah, slightly after 8 p.m., 8 a.m. rather, we expect that this chopper will land at the Kabarak airstrip rather. Of course, being the final flight for the late retired President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, as his remains are expected to be interred at his Kabarak homestead in a private ceremony today from the Kabarak airstrip. Of course, as we mentioned earlier, the gun carriage is already on standby at the Kabarak airstrip, ready to transport the remains of the former commander-in-chief to his Kabarak homestead. So it's really all systems go at every other juncture that is critical to this particular process today, the funeral process for the late President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. So
So once this particular chopper takes off, we'll be giving it another, like you said, 30 minutes.
About 30 minutes?
Yes, until when it lands at the Kabarak airstrip. There's another aircraft which we've seen most likely will be carrying the other family members, led by Baringo Senator and the last son of the former president, Gideon Moi. We've seen Gideon Moi is also accompanied by his wife, Zahra Moi, and other family members. So, of course, in the next 30 minutes, all eyes will be at the Kabarak airstrip to just take a look at what else will happen on that particular airstrip where heavy military presence has already been spotted. And just to correct, Baringo Senator Gideon Moi is in that particular chopper that carries the remains of the late retired President Daniel Moi. The aircraft that is, the other aircraft will perhaps carry other family members and other dignitaries who will be making their way to Kabarak for the funeral service.
And as you can see on the smaller screen, we do have also a Kenya Air Force aircraft, which we had seen earlier on at Wilson Airport. We do see military personnel coming out, I believe family members as well. As soon as we have a closer shot, we'll probably be able to see who exactly they are. But this again being the last day, the final bow for the late President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. And according to the program, we're expecting that from 8 to 10 o'clock is where the procession and people are supposed to be seated and getting ready. From 10 a.m. the program begins with the scripture reading. And as we can see, the chopper is just about to leave Wilson Airport. In another 25 to 30 minutes or so, we will be having the chopper arriving. And as we can see on the smaller screen there, we have military officials from the disciplined forces arriving at the Kabarak airstrip, where we have our Duncan Kaemba and Ali Manzu, who are soon going to be updating us who they have seen arrive and who has come. We do know that the remains are in the chopper, the military chopper, which is also where we have the senator for Baringo County. That is none other than Honorable Gideon Moi, the son to the late president, also in that chopper, with his wife also traveling in that chopper and are going to be arriving anytime soon. We also, Akisa, are expecting the president to be in attendance.
Yes.
And soon I'm sure we're going to be having him boarding one of the aircrafts to also make his way there. We'll also see whether the heads of states, the likes of Yoweri Museveni and the former president of Tanzania, Benjamin Mkapa, who will also be maybe accompanying the president to, give their final respects to the late President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. This, of course, is all unfolding as we carry on to bring you this live footage of what is happening.
I should also mention that the function or the proceedings at the Kabarak homestead will be a very private one, only exclusive to family members. The president, a few government officials, as well as other dignitaries will be making their way there. The larger public will be following the proceedings at in various stadiums, starting with the Afraha Stadium in Nakuru, where big screens have already been mounted for the public to follow this particular proceedings, as well as Sacho, where was the birthplace of the late retired President Daniel Moi. He was born, bred, went to school in Sacho in Baringo County. So, of course, it was only fair and necessary to put up big screens there for, of course, the public there who are part of his community where he grew up, to follow up the proceedings at this particular point. In the big screens that are mounted there, remember our Elvis Koskei is on standby there. We'll be speaking to a number of Kenyans on, their final thoughts, even as the president takes his final salute on this final journey. That particular chopper you're seeing on screen will be the last flight that the president takes, as his body is flown to the Kabarak airstrip, later to the Kabarak homestead, where his remains will finally be interred later on in the day. So we're bringing you every possible angle of this story in this wall-to-wall coverage of the final salute there, the chopper taking off in what I've mentioned earlier as a final flight for the former president. Of course, a precision in time. In the next 25 to 30 minutes, we expect that this chopper will land at the Kabarak airstrip, and then, of course, followed by that solemn procession. Once again, residents from Nakuru there and Kabarak will get an opportunity to take a look at
Absolutely.
that.
We'll so be